What's going on, guys? This is Ryan with RK Outpost, and I saw this floating around today in the nether, in the Star Wars news realm, and even the Star Wars cast admits the franchise needs to slow down. And first of all, it's funny. It's funny that the cast is saying that. Stop making Star Wars movies right now. Everyone needs a break. And I also just disagree with it in general. Do I think that Disney, Lucasfilm, needs to slow down making Star Wars? Yeah, perhaps, so they can actually get a plan together, so they can get all the right people in there, fire Kathleen Kennedy, get an actual person in there who is going to be responsible and take the franchise in the right direction, and then move forward. However, the idea that one Star Wars movie a year is just too much for people is just insanity. Look at the MCU, and that's always what we bring it back to, right? You bring it back to the MCU and how much stuff they have going on now, and that people are just eating it up, eating it up, eating it up. So let's get into this. Let's see what they think. A long time ago in a galaxy far, far away used to be a phrase that inspired hope, excitement, and much anticipation from audience. But ever since Disney purchased Lucasfilm, Star Wars has been lightspeed skipping ahead with no end in sight. From 2015 to 19, studios released a new film each year, leaving some fans desperate for a break. People don't want a break from Star Wars. They want a break from crap Disney Star Wars. There's people that are hungry for actual Star Wars right now. I see it in my comments, in my Twitter DMs. People asking for ways to get into the expanded universe. Wanting to play SWTOR, a 9-year MMO or a 9-year-old MMO game. Like, the hunger is there. Truly, the lack of overarching vision for the latest of films feels clearer than ever that in The Rise of Skywalker, even moviegoers who love Disney era must admit the inconsistent narrative and behind-the-scenes director shuffling have taken a toll. The best thing Disney can do for Star Wars right now is press pause. Even the cast thinks so. Dang. The Skywalker Saga is now complete. It was complete 1 through 6, and then you went and made it to Palpatine's Saga. The Star Wars saga is in the perfect position to give the movies a rest. When Disney announced a revival for the franchise, the studio said we'd be getting a new trilogy and standalone films in between. With The Rise of Skywalker, that strategy is complete. Strategy. The series is closed on the book on the 9-part story of the Skywalker family. Of course, the films could still continue eventually, but the latest film presents a natural stopping point. Whenever the story resumes, the saga once again has the room to continue at its own leisure. Moreover, when it does, it can do so without having to contend with any baggage from the original trilogy. Baggage? You mean like people comparing it to the original trilogy? Maybe, if that's what you mean by baggage. Just look at The Mandalorian. That series, while set in the Star Wars universe, expands the canon with new characters and a disconnected adventure. Fans are mostly loving it, and Lucasfilm should take heed and step in the right direction. Look to the future, not the past. And I kind of agree with that. You know, even though I'm not like a huge fan of Mandalorian, I think it's a good show, not a great show by any stretch of the imagination. But you can't deny that most people are having a positive reaction to it, and it is mostly disconnected. Not a whole lot of there's nostalgia with like stormtroopers and TIE fighters and things like that, but as far as taking characters and destroying them, there's not much of that in there. Not yet. The Star Wars cast on the saga's future. Even the actors involved in Rise of Skywalker believe the saga should pump the brakes on the big screen installments for now. Key members of the cast and J.J. Abrams shared their thoughts with Yahoo Entertainment, and the consensus is clear among the 3 main heroes. What I want is a break, Daisy Ridley said, and everyone's discussed it, but I think we just need to let The Rise of Skywalker have its moment and then take a breath, figure out where next. Ridley had previously said she loves the new films, or it shows that the new film leaves her character and has seemed hesitant to return. Oscar Isaac, too, hopes future Star Wars projects can afford to take more care in the stories they tell. I'd like to see it slow down a bit, says Oscar Isaac. I think to make it special when the next one comes out, and it doesn't really feel like it's part of an assembly line, but then it's really particularly specially made stories that are really about something. And taking the time to find the right people to put those things together and developing it with a real clear arc in mind. Isaac's comments speak directly to one of the trilogy's biggest issues. Meanwhile, John Boyega, who's already dispelled hopes for a Disney Plus series, if you remember, John Boyega, our boy, made a video about him earlier, but you ain't gonna Disney Plus me. That's basically what he told them. Just hopes the saga stays on the big screen. I just think what's really important, especially now, we've got so many options in terms of how we watch content for like the biggest movie of all time to make sure it has a place in the cinematic universe, he said, because that's how we love to see Star Wars. And that's interesting because it is. Like, this should be the biggest movie of all time. You look at Force Awakens. It made more domestically than Avengers Endgame. Yet The Rise of Skywalker, I mean, it's going to make $1 billion. It's going to make $1 billion around the world. I mean, not anywhere close to the level of Endgame or Infinity War or anything like that, or even the first one in this trilogy. It's just sad. Will Lucasfilm really take a break? As for the other interviewees, Abrams said he wants to see new stories set after Rise of Skywalker. Richard Grant, Naomi Ackie, and Kelly Marie Tran just want to see more Star Wars in general. Just consume, consume, consume. Particularly, the latter two allude to expanding the world going forward. Of course, Disney has no intention of letting their $4 billion investment sit idle while they can be making a fortune instead. But does it sound like the beginnings of Star Wars fatigue have set in internally? Can the saga sustain an interconnected web of stories like the MCU? Perhaps, but first thing is first. Can't speak today. This franchise needs a fresh start. If they announce a new trilogy now, the company will be robbing Star Wars of the chance to truly leave the Skywalkers behind. Right now, it's unclear when we'll see a new Star Wars movie. Yet, even if the people involved think making the saga spread too thin, perhaps they have a point. Now, they make a really good point, this $4 billion investment. And people are like, oh, $4 billion. Like, just look at how much money they're making. Look how much money they made with Force Awakens, Rogue One, Last Jedi. They've made that money back. Guys, they have not made that money back. Let's be clear. They need to keep doing things. Because when you look here, this came out from Telegraph. This came out from Telegraph today. £1.5 billion Star Wars bill for Disney's UK subsidiaries. So just how much it cost to make these movies in the UK alone, which is where a lot of it was filmed, £1.5 billion. Now, £1.5 billion is $2 billion. And then we factor, so that's $6 billion investment now, just taking in UK. Then you factor in Galaxy's Edge. Each one of them, $1 billion. That's $8 billion right off the bat. That was literally just with no thought, no anything like that. I have no idea what the rest of the stuff has cost, what it costs to pay just random people at Lucasfilm. That doesn't count a UK business costs. I don't know if we really understand how much has been sank into Star Wars. So they can't just stop. They can't just take a break. Their stockholders need this money back. And, it's also not just like, oh, well, I invested $4 billion in Star Wars 10 years ago. Once I make that $4 billion back, we should be good. No, again, imagine if they had taken that $4 billion and simply put it into, like, it seems stupid, like a mutual fund or something like that. Something that's going to get you 8 to 10% guaranteed a year. And think of how much money that would have made over a 10-year period. Or just invested in other projects that could have made them money. That's how you have to think about it from an investing standpoint. And when you see, you can get stuff from merchandise. And listen, there's a ton of people that buy Star Wars stuff out there, whether it's shirts, whether it's Legos, games, whatever it is. They got money coming from other places as well. But you look at the toy shelf for Rise of Skywalker, and it's clear merchandise ain't doing too hot. So it's all got to be taken with a grain of salt. They cannot afford to slow down, in my opinion. I do think that they will continue on thrust. They have to. I mean, they have to keep this going. As stupid as I think that a lot of the stories are that they've made, that's kind of the bed they've chosen to lie in. Now, could they stop and say, hey, we're going to course correct? Yeah, I could see that. Personally, like I said, I think the next trilogy, they're going to move into the past, talk about the Old Republic. I just think it makes too much sense for them not to. I think there's a lot of love for that era. They would already have some stories in place that they could steal from the expanded universe, because that's what they would do. They would pilfer it. I think we all understand that. I think we know that if that happens, Revan would be a part of it. I don't know how you wouldn't. He's such a well-loved character in the Star Wars universe. But these are just me thinking about it, thinking about what's going to happen, what I see coming down in the future. But telling that all three cast members say, yeah, we need a break from Star Wars. And it's just sad because you don't. Look at the MCU. They've done it. We know that you can build a story that you can have 3, 4 movies coming out a year and people will still go and they will still make $1 billion. And that's with characters that a lot of people didn't care about, unless like the most hardcore comic fans really didn't care about too much. Like people like Ant-Man, people like Captain Marvel. There's not a whole lot of people before the MCU came around that would have just been like lining up to go to an Ant-Man movie, to go to a Captain Marvel movie, at least in my opinion, if you're not a big comic book nerd. That's my thought. I'm kind of rambling on at this point, but the idea that you need to stop Star Wars, you need to take a break from Star Wars because everyone's fatigued. People are fatigued from bad movies. That's what gives you fatigue. Good things will not give you fatigue. Good Star Wars movies, Disney, Lucasfilm, if you guys can give us good Star Wars movies, there's not going to be anybody that says, I'm tired of that stuff. They just want more of it. But that's just my thoughts. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. What do you think about the big cast members saying, yeah, this needs a break, guys? Let me know. Make sure you smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, ring the bell for notifications, share this video out there, and I'll talk to you guys later. Thanks for watching, everyone, and a huge shout out to my patrons. I appreciate you guys so much. Want to follow me on Twitter or Instagram? Check out the description below. You'll find links to my P.O. box and my Patreon as well. And I'll talk to you guys later.